Nights. Welcome to Grawlix Nights, the Grawlix Podcast live show. I'm Randy.
I'm Melanie.
And I'm Jesse.
Well, I should say it's live, unless you're listening to this on Helix Rock Radio at rockradio.live, in which case, ironically, it's not live. You're listening to a replay, a late night replay of Grawlix Nights. But otherwise, in real time, hey, we're streaming like usual, and we got things to talk about. We missed a week or two. Was it two?
Just one.
Just one. Okay.
One.
Yeah.
We missed a week, and it was a big week.
It was.
Because since we last streamed, we've got hit with, well, I don't want to give spoilers, but I'll say 2 banger Doctor Who episodes. Banger.
They really dropped the boom.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Or lowered the boom. It's lowered the boom. I messed it up.
Did they? Is it lowered the boom? Drop the boom sounds better. It's like, makes me think of drop the mic.
Let the bass drop. Right.
Right.
But I think they lowered the boom.
They let the boom hit the floor?
Yeah. Like the bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds cool.
Hey, everybody. Before all that happens, first off, how are you two doing?
Doing all right.
All right. Yep.
So, we've all done some things, I think, in the last couple weeks. Let's catch up. Jesse, what have you been up to? You been doing anything exciting? Anything interesting happened to you?
Well, I was recently on the Middle-Aged Movie Review podcast, and we talked about Enter the Dragon, which is it's a favorite of mine. It's,
Yeah.
Yeah. So anytime I get in front of a microphone, you don't know what I'm going to say, especially if I'm pressed. Like, if not depressed, but like pressed. If someone's like, so what do you think about that? And then I will, if I don't know, I will make up something ridiculous. So that's probably what I'll do.
You're kind of like the Chat GPT of humans in that respect.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Like,
you don't
so
know.
were you living under a rock when this movie came out? It was like, oh, well, I mean, it came out before I was alive, but also, I lived in the middle of a cornfield, which is true and not true, so Enter the Dragon, I don't know. Maybe they were playing it on the local radio not on the radio. On our TV station, our what would become Fox 42, but I don't remember it. I don't remember watching it. If it was, I'm sure it was. I mean, it seems ripe for the kind of movie that they'd throw on as a Saturday matinee or a Sunday matinee or whatever. But I just never saw it. And then in order to see something like a Bruce Lee movie, first of all, it had to be a big enough video store that you could actually find it. Right? Like they had to actually have it. And then it had to be not rented out because that's not the kind of thing they kept multiple copies of. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. They absolutely, I mean, it wasn't like a 16 Candles or something where you couldn't,
Right.
or Breakfast Club especially, where you couldn't escape it. They ran that thing at least once a month.
Oh,
it seemed
yeah.
like. But they absolutely occasionally would run Enter the Dragon on like Fox 42, Sunday or Saturday movie afternoons or whatever it was they called it. But yeah, definitely. So you didn't see it till you were older.
Yeah, till I was like in high school, till I was actually doing martial arts. But like I had seen like Van Damme movies. I mean, like I was a normal kid interested in martial arts movies, but I just wasn't like seeking out the classics really.
Right.
Until I was like, oh yeah, I should probably know a little bit about this guy. And then when I did, I was hooked, and I sought them all out. And some of them were harder to find than others. Like I think Game of Death took me the longest to find. I think The Way of the Dragon, the one with Chuck Norris, was pretty easy to find. Yeah, Fist of Fury was pretty easy to find. The Big Boss was a little trickier to find. But also that was the era when like Bruce Lee became a bigger deal again because they did the Jason Scott Lee movie, Dragon.
Yeah.
So, which that came up on there. So, I mean, yeah, it was a good time. They were a lot of fun. There was a lot of crazy jokes, and then even talked a little bit about AI. And so, like, just the promo images that they've put together for my for my appearance have been ridiculous and awesome, and I'm here for it. So yeah, if you have time, check out that episode because it's fun.
First up, hey Jasper, what's going on?
Hey,
Howdy.
You can.
is his
by the
birthday
way-
today or yesterday?
Oh, that's a good question. Don't be offended,
Jasper,
there.
happy birthday, either today or yesterday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Middle-aged movie reviews, by the way, electronicmediacollective.com. I don't know their direct website, so that's the easiest way to get to it. But I did see, Jesse, one of their usually nightmare fuel AI-generated promo images.
Yeah.
36, Jasper turns
Woo,
36
happy
today.
birthday. I knew it was one of these days.
36
I remember
is young, huh?
36.
Oh man, to be 36 again. You always hear that though, right?
Isn't
That's just
that-
forever. Just
isn't that
forever.
ins-
You'll be like, yeah.
Oh, to be in my 30s
Oh,
again
man.
is insane.
To
It's
be in
insane
my
to say that.
to be 50 again. Like what? Who's pining for their 50s? What?
But
There are
36
people.
was 36 was a special year for me because I was 36 3 years in a row. So
Oh, all right.
You were. Yeah.
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I swear.
But- But we're the
Math
same
is
age, so
weird.
how did that work?
Because I thought I was 36, and everybody was like, "You're not 36," and I was like, "Are you sure?" And then I did the math, and I was like, "Okay, maybe I'm not 36." But
Oh,
then
yeah.
I would do it again later, and I was 36, and I was like, "No, I'm not 36." I was very confused about it, and then I was 36 for real because I was 36. But
And then you
when
were
I was
committing to
37,
it.
I was still 36.
That's right.
I-
You hadn't really been used to it yet, so yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. I was 36 for 3 years, so
I had a year like that, yeah. Where I thought I was older than I was, and then Holly called me on it, and I was like, "No, I'm this old," and she's like, "No, you're not." And then I did the math. I was like, "Oh, no, I'm not."
I've definitely probably
oops.
elusive appearance. I definitely have hit the age where when I remember how old I am, it's older than I remember.
Oh,
I'm like, oh. It's cool. It's a midlife crisis thing. I totally wasn't looking up Saturday morning and evening cartoon schedules in a TV guide on archive.org from 1994 the other day.
you don't even have to do that because now they've got that one like pretend TV channel that you're going to be able to watch all the old cartoons from. What's that? It's coming up in June, like June 25th. What's it called? It's called like Toon something. It's
Yeah,
basically
okay.
the old Cartoon Network, but
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
You know what they need to do? The first station that like commits to it, I don't know how they're going to have to. Maybe it would suck because most of those stations still need to run regular commercials, but they need to run old commercials with it. That's how you get the true nostalgia. As horrible as it is to say, advertising, nothing hits nostalgia like old advertisements, and that kind of sucks. But that's
Because they drowned out the shows, man. For like little kid cartoons, it was like you get like 10 minutes of TV and then like 5 minutes of commercials and then another 10 minutes of TV and then it was horrible.
But there's YouTube channels that upload just nothing but like found VHS rips of commercials from, they'll have the date, commercials from this date on whatever channel. Sometimes that's glorious. What I was going to say about the AI images they do, I did see a corn bear. I seen an image of a corn bear.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, did corn bear come up? I haven't listened to the episode yet. I'm going to have to check it out if you're talking about corn bears.
Yeah. Corn bears came up.
Awesome.
What's corn bear?
Yeah. Well, it's the bears that we had to fight off here in Nebraska when you live in the middle of a cornfield.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just all Herbie Huskers and Little Reds out there. It's
You got corn bears.
there's some real dangers.
Like you ever hear of a
The mean street fields of Nebraska.
The mean street fields.
The mean street fields. Yeah.
Well, if you've ever, heard of, it's kind of like Australia's drop bears, except
Drop
corn
bears,
bears are
yeah.
real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't have myths.
Yeah. when that catches on, this is where it started. Grawlix.
That's right. We're too flyover state for myths and mysteries.
That's right.
We have real things.
So, Melanie and I, speaking of
Yeah.
flyover states, we went to South. It's so interesting. I was talking to one of my clients. He lives in like Buffalo or whatever, and he's like, "So where'd you go on vacation?" And I was like, "South Dakota," and he just had this like, "Huh," like reaction. It's like there's stuff in South Dakota, man.
There's cool things in South Dakota. Yeah.
There's great things. Yeah, we went to Badlands National Park.
That's one of the coolest things.
Yeah.
I love the Badlands. They're bizarre and it's one of the places on Earth that looks like it's not on Earth.
Right.
You're like,
It's
I
really weird.
live on an alien planet.
Yeah.
To aliens, but it's an alien planet.
And they spread. And that's so weird to me. It keeps spreading and getting bigger.
It's kind of like the equivalent of like, when you get a dry patch of skin, like maybe on your elbow or something.
Psoriasis,
It's psoriasis for the earth.
oh no.
Um,
All right.
we also went to Custer and all that. We seen the sights. We did the thing. I think that was my third.
That makes
Third or
South
fourth.
Dakota the wrinkly elbow of the world.
Yeah, they need to own that. They need to take that and merchandise it. It was a nice trip. I had a good time. Melanie, myself, and my mom. So small group. It's good because we're all out of shape. When you're out of shape, you need to get back into shape. But you're out of shape and you go somewhere like that with somebody who's in shape. It's not a fun experience because they want to go hiking and do crazy things.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm dreading an upcoming little vacation because we're going to Wyoming, and the people who set this trip up are going to Wyoming because they climb rocks.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like, nah.
Right.
Come on.
Right.
Plus I hate that. Like, I'm afraid of heights. Mainly when I'm climbing the surface of a high thing. Like I can look down fine, right? But like if I'm stuck to the surface of the thing, not okay. I can get up a certain level and then I just freeze. And then they're like, just let go, just drop. And I'm like, no, that's not what I want to do either.
that's the
No,
exact problem.
I want down, but not like that.
Yeah. That's like my sister learning how to, what do you call that? What, like when you have a rope or whatever and you like
Rappelling?
bounce down. Yeah, rappelling.
Mhm.
She had to rappel for ROTC or whatever. And
Yeah.
she's like over the top, just like hanging there, and they're like, just kick off the wall and lean back. She's like, I can't.
That's how I found out about this fear.
Is it?
My mom thought that I should go to a 4-H camp where that was the big hook. Like that was the big thing. That was the big cherry on top of going to this camp. And I was like, what? I don't want to do that. I couldn't do the 12-footer. And then it was like, nope, it's the day to do the 50-foot wall or the 25-foot wall or whatever the heck it was. It was, I mean, any amount was too much at this point because I'm like, I can't even go down the little wall. You want me to go down the big wall? No.
I feel like I've probably told this story sometime in the last decade we've been doing the show, but yeah, I went to a camp when I was a kid, and there was the thing with the wall where they you go up to the top, and I'm guessing it's kind of a trust exercise type. I don't know what it is, but you climb over the edge, and then it's tall enough that it seems very scary, but they can hold you and hang you down, and then the people at the bottom can help you get down. So it can't be that tall, although in my mind as a kid, it seems like it was really tall. I was horrified. I didn't want to do it. I was up at the top for a long time, and they kept trying. They're persistent. I'll give them that. They finally got me to do it. Right. It took forever. I hated it. Once I was down, they're like, "See, that wasn't so bad." I was like, "No, that was terrible. That
I
sucked."
don't ever want to do that again. That was not okay.
There was this other girl after me who was also deathly afraid of heights doing this, and they're trying to convince her to do this thing. They're like, "Okay, well, I don't remember her name, but tell so-and-so, tell her it wasn't that bad." And I was like, "No, I'm not going to do that. That's a lie. That was terrible.
I'm not going to lie to her.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. If you don't want to do it, don't.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Tell her it wasn't that bad." I'm like, "I'm not going to do that. It was bad. It's going to be as bad as she thinks it's going to be." I don't think they were happy with that, but it's like, dude, I thought
I'm not gonna, no, I don't know her well, but I respect her enough not to lie about it.
right. I thought this was a Christian camp. I think it was too. But,
I know.
like,
Man,
yeah,
all about building character. I mean, trauma.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
But
You're like,
it's
oh,
still-
you have a phobia that you didn't know you had? Let's just immerse you in it now. Right now.
Speaking of immersed, hey, what's going on? That's Savannah, yeah.
Hey-o.
On Twitch.
Yeah.
It's gotta
What's
be.
going on? Been a while.
What other purple monkey dishwashers do you know?
None. Just that one.
Yep.
So the only other thing I think I have to mention is, so last weekend, first off, Furiosa came out, and I haven't seen it yet. I really want to.
yeah.
Apparently, is the news stories focus on the fact that it's like it was a terrible opening for Memorial Day, whatever. So it hasn't been doing good, which is unfortunate because I've heard nothing but great
Right.
things about it. Yeah, me too. I'm gonna hit it. I think not this weekend, but next week.
Tuesday.
I'm definitely gonna hit it in the theater.
Tuesday, it's cheaper.
Yeah, Tuesday. It's a good idea. But anyway,
Maybe not at a drive-through though, huh?
well, that's what I was gonna say. We did go to the movies this weekend. We didn't go see that. We went to the drive-in, and we seen If with Ryan.
Oh, stands for imaginary friend.
Yeah, and that was okay. I don't have a lot to say about it.
Yeah.
Seeing a new movie that you've never seen before in a drive-in is, if it was the second movie, it'd be better. But it's always the first movie, of course. They put the new movie in because a lot of people book it after that. But it starts when it's bright out. So the beginning is always like very like you can't hardly see. It's hard to keep track.
Diffused, yeah.
We got there a little late as it was. So I'm never really super comfortable giving a new movie first time watch at the drive-in like a proper rating. So I don't know. It seemed okay though. Anyway, the second movie, the reason we went, Melanie really wanted to go, was Little Monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah, see. First off, Savannah says seeing new movies in drive-ins are not fun because you can't see and can't hear. Jasper says drive-ins are a whole lot of fun. The sound can be sometimes muddy. Double pun. That's pretty good.
Man, he is 36. That's when it hits.
So our drive-in.
That's not true. I've been doing this for 10 years. Bad puns for 10 years easily.
Yeah. Oh, at least. Bad puns. Yeah, bad puns.
Wait, I'm
Our
46. That's it. I'm
right.
46. 10 years of this. That's when it hits, Jasper. I just
You
did
know what?
math on this show.
Early on, I don't remember. Melanie was vehemently opposed to puns.
Yeah.
The last few years, though, she's been cracking her own puns.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not really. I don't know about that.
You don't. No. You have been.
He's
You
humble
have
about
been.
it. That felt like a humble brag there. Like, oh no, not me.
So the drive-in, we typically, although I'm taking a break from them for a while after this last weekend, typically, if it rains here, it gets real muddy. It becomes a mud pit, which is a problem because you're supposed to drive your car in there.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a reasonable expectation when you go to a business and their whole business is you drive your car in here, that you should be able to not really be concerned with parking in a normal spot and whether or not you're going to be able to get your car out and how you're going to get home. Because we hit a mud hole, and it wasn't like any weird, like we weren't in the back of the lot, we weren't off to the side. It was like second from the front in a normal spot. And Melanie was trying to pull up through this normal spot where you're supposed to park a car and watch a movie for like 2 to 4 hours or however long, and then be able to go home. Got stuck in a mud hole. Couldn't get our van out. I'll pull up the pictures, but we eventually had to like ask them if they had any stuff we could put in there to try to help get some traction. They were really useless until we were totally dug in. And then I was like, do you have any mulch or anything we could throw in there? "Yeah, sure." And he drove over a thing and he had a big thing of mulch. And it's like, dude, why didn't you give that to us at the beginning? Like, we probably could have got out if they'd have done that at the beginning. And it was eventually it was like, I was like, I don't know what to do. Like this ordeal spanned the whole Little Monsters movie. Like, we were dealing with this the entire second movie. And they're like, well, when we close up, we're going to leave, but we leave the side gate open. So, if you need to come get it towed out tomorrow or whatever, you can come before the show time. The gate over there will be open. I was very upset. And then I started thinking, I was like, no.
Right.
No, you don't just like, well, we're going to close, so good luck to you. Leave us stuck there in their theater. So I ended up talking them into paying to have somebody come pull the car out, which seems reasonable because at the very least, if they're going to have, and I know it wasn't their intention to set up shop in a mud hole, but if there's a large portion of their property which you're supposed to drive in is undrivable and a hazard, at the very least, do a spot check if it's been rainy, and cord off areas that are inaccessible.
Yeah.
Don't just let people drive wherever and get stuck. And it wasn't like an obvious mud pit. It was a grassy area. It's just there was grass sticking up out of the water. You couldn't really see the water till you're in it.
Right.
And it was late. It was like by the time that movie got over, because it was after the first movie, and I was trying to move because we had been all the way at the end, and I wanted to move closer to the middle when I pulled in there. And yeah, it was dark, so I couldn't. There was no shine to the water or anything,
Oh yeah.
But no, yeah. As soon as I got stuck, I went up there and asked for help if they had somebody that could tow me out, and they said no, there's nobody there that could tow me out. And they had one piece of cardboard for me. That's what they gave me, one piece of cardboard, and that piece of cardboard did not work. But you have no idea how deep this was either. It was insane.
And they're planning on expanding, right?
Yeah.
They're going to expand to
Even
behind-
further into a cornfield, right?
Yeah. Where there's almost, even when the normal lot's good, it's almost always a standing lake back there. Like, I don't know what they're going to do.
They had to cancel tonight because of the rain today.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm glad they need to, because I love the drive-in. I've loved going to the drive-in. I've loved it all my life. It's fun. It's fun to go to the drive-in, especially ones that, do it in an appropriate time, or if they have events too. Like I remember when I was a little kid, they would have like, fireworks, or they would sell posters and stuff, but they'd make it fun, like little ring toss games and stuff like that. That stuff was great. But you have to make it safe for people to be able to drive there first. That should be your first priority. I like the fun stuff about it, but don't worry about the fun stuff. Make it safe.
Yeah, I generally, I've never even been there, but generally I like their vibe. I like everything that they offer and whatnot. Like they have swap meets and stuff. I think it's great. I think their business model is smart and good until stuff like this happens and they have no plan.
Yeah.
Dude, it got so bad. Like, it was bottoming out the front of the car is how deep it got. I took a step at one point around
I want to put a Treyu in front of your van right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I took a step around here and it went my foot sunk into the
God.
mud
Yeah.
up to my shin. And I was like, "Are you?" Oh man, I was so
I,
fuming by then.
I was having problems articulating it too, but I kept. Part of my big fear was that people kept talking about going in reverse, and I'm sure it would have been easier. But my big fear was somebody was going to try to push from the front, get sucked into that mud, and then the car would roll forward into them. That was like
Oh,
I
I
was
see.
very very concerned about it, but I
I
couldn't
see.
explain it well.
I got
Yeah.
when we did finally push from the front. I was pushing here. We had a worker there. He did go find somebody who had like a Jeep finally, a lady, but she like looked under, couldn't see anywhere to like hook a strap or anything, and then was like, "Well, last resort is we could try to push it, like straight up, just
push it further in.
ram into you with my vehicle." And I eventually agreed to that after we were along the front trying to push it. This starts spinning and spraying, and it just covered me in mud. Oh my god. But yeah, so then she tried to push.
You were
it from
one tough
behind.
mudder by the end of that.
Yeah, but we don't need to belabor the story. The point is, like, did they? Okay, so Savannah made the point. First off, yes, they didn't have anybody who worked there with a strap in a truck. Which, I mean, I guess I could see why they wouldn't think to, but after they're a couple years into this business, they know how their lot gets. They need somebody there who can tow at least tow. Like, it's not like the truck had to come and pull us and then tow us to another town. It just had to pull us like 3 feet back and we would have been fine.
They should white rock this by now. This should be white rocked by this point
right?
in their business, right?
No, yeah, I agree. And in fact, I'm pretty sure that not the aisles that you drive in, I'm pretty sure that those are, which was actually kind of a pain in the butt because I was trying to dig out in front of the car so that it would be able to I could maybe line that with something to get it so it could get out. But the actual road you drive on was so thick and hard, I couldn't get through it at all. But the grass part was completely soft and mud, you know? Yeah, whatever. It sucked.
Savannah says, could you imagine someone like a single mom with literally no clue how to fix that type of situation? Yeah, being stuck there. Yeah, because I'm not a single mom, but we did have kids there, and I'm useless. So I was like, I got to a point, I was like, I have no clue what to do. I have no idea what to do. Savannah asked also, did they refund your money along with paying for a tow? They did not refund the money. They did not offer to refund the money. They were not thrilled to pay for the tow. I had to go after it was done. The guy walked away. I went and sat down for a second, and I was like, no, this isn't right. Like, I thought it over, and I was like, no. So I walked back up to their spot and asked them. I said, I don't think it's unreasonable for you guys to pay for a tow. And they had to call their owner, and I had to stand there and wait for quite a while. The lady indicated that the guy in the past he doesn't like to do that. He has told people no before. And I was just like, I think you guys should. They did eventually pay for a tow. And even that was awkward. It was just an unpleasant experience. And like Melanie said, like, the drive-in's awesome. I like to drive in. So this is kind of a bummer. But whatever.
Right. And it's not like there are other drive-ins really that you can go to. I mean, not that I'm aware of. This is kind of the game in town, so I don't want to badmouth it because I want it to exist.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. Like,
ultimately they did the right thing, but they need to do better in the future.
Yes.
Is it the one over here? It's
Valley.
like by Valley. It's between Valley and Omaha, and it's that general area. Mm-hmm. I think they're cool generally, but like they need to. Yeah, there's some things they're overlooking that are kind of important. That whatever.
So, anyways, Little Monsters is a great movie. You should watch it if you haven't seen it.
Also, it was a pan and scan copy of Little Monsters. Weird, not like widescreen. Very strange, but I think they work like drive-ins, and there's other theaters, but there's like a service, like basically a streaming service that you can they pay to that gives them rights to show movies, and they can select from certain movies. Like they have kind of a limited thing, and apparently the whatever service they used, the copy they had was like pan and scan. Weird. I would have expected a, proper theatrical aspect ratio copy, but whatever. Fred Savage and
Howie Mandel.
yeah, Howie Mandel. Yeah, Howie Mandel's kind of insufferable in that movie.
I mean, he
But
kind of was insufferable. So,
Yeah.
I don't know how he
like,
was
he
a
kind of made
germaphobe.
his money off of it, you know?
What were you saying, Melanie?
I don't know how that guy's a germaphobe because he was like picking people's noses and doing all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, was he a germaphobe at that time? I know he is now.
That was my question too. I was like, well, what was he always? And is that a thing you become a germaphobe at some point? And if so, what has to happen to you to become a germaphobe?
Right. Maybe you have to lose all your hair.
Savannah says, it's called acting, Melanie. It's called acting, sucker. Okay. Was there anything else we want to talk about? Anything we watched or whatever? The whole thing.
I did crack into Hasbro Hotel because I had a bunch
I
of
wanted to
people
ask you about that.
recommend it to me, like at conventions and whatnot. I had a gal recommend it to me, and then I had a bunch of like students had watched it, and like that was problematic and troubling to me.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yep.
watched it. I looked it up. You mentioned it. I looked it up and watched a trailer. It was a pretty old trailer, so I think it's one of those things that like it's been in the works for a long time, and then eventually got picked up by Amazon or whatever. But the trailer in the title even said not for kids.
Oh man, it's so not for kids. And it's such a weird thing because it's totally like an Invader Zim, Fairly Odd Parents, like that era of Nickelodeon style cartoon, and very much leans into like the Disney model where it's like they will just jump into like a singing thing, but like it's so funny because they'll be like, where is she? Oh yeah, that bee, she's already out in the street. And they're like, what? Yeah, she's dancing and singing, and it's the whole thing. You're like, just so meta and stuff. Like,
That's fun.
I was like, that is pretty. I mean, like, it's funny, but it's also really cringy. That's why I was like, I don't know if I can recommend this to Randy and Melanie or not, because like, it has a musical aspect to it, which is cringy and whatnot, and it's just built in, so it, so like, and it's kind of like a Disney movie. It's different in a Disney movie. You expect it in a Disney movie.
They really commit to the bit though, huh?
Yeah, but
okay.
they just drop F-bombs and swear
Okay.
like nobody's business. Like, yeah.
Real quick before I move on, Savannah says she hasn't been watching anything. She has 6,700 followers
That's crazy. That's more than
on
me.
TikTok and have been making stupid videos on there. Savannah, what's your TikTok handle? We'll give you a shout out.
I think it's similar.
I mean, we're pretty much going to be
Purple
promoting it
Monkey
to
Dishwasher
you.
again. Yeah,
Oh, is
yeah.
it? Okay.
I don't know that
that's-
it's spelled the same
That's
as
not
on
easy,
here,
though.
but
That's not easy for a verbal shout out.
oh, it is spelled the same. Okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
Purple Monkey Dishwasher with just the first U is the only vowel in it.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. I watched Hello Mary Lou Prom Night too because there was a dead meat on it, and they did a little trailer for it and a kill count. They did a trailer for it beforehand, and I was like, that movie looks crazy, and I've never seen it, so I watched it. It was one of my weekend Tubi watches, like Frankenhooker a couple weeks ago. Tubi.
Oh yeah,
we still
Tubi's got some cool stuff.
Yeah.
we still haven't watched Lisa Frankenstein either. Savannah.
Yeah, I do want to see Lisa Frankenstein.
Hmm. We see things usually a couple years late,
Yeah. Once it hits Tubi,
right.
so
Prime freebie.
in another 20 years when I'll be like, I remember 56, if only to be 56 again. And I'll be like, well, I was on Tubi watching 20, 30-year-old movies. Lisa Frankenstein. I was like, what's this? There's a depressing preview of the future. Hey,
Well, real quick, because
Oh
you
yeah, yeah, yeah.
got me thinking about it too. I guess the only other thing I've really done is speaking of the, it's in the same vein here, is Dungeons and Dragons, the old cartoon. I've been reading the comic book continuation of that story, and it's so
Uh-huh.
weird because like I don't know, like in the original show, they were sucked into the realm of Dungeons and Dragons through this roller coaster ride or whatever, right? And well, fast forward, IDW, they do all of the Forgotten Realms and D&D comic books anyways. So like they've just decided that it's set in the Forgotten Realms setting, which it kind, I mean, it could have been. There's no reason it couldn't have been, but like at that time there was like a bunch of settings, and Forgotten Realms was not the official one. That's part of the reason why D&D kind of got bought out by Hasbro in the first place, was that TSR was like competing with themselves in the sense that they would just keep putting out different settings. Like here's this setting and here's this setting and here's this setting, and now we've got to maintain them all.
Uh-huh.
Or
Interesting.
we'd trim the ones that weren't selling or whatever, but like
Right.
every one of them had kind of their own little following. And so it's weird to see them put this cartoon that was clearly its own thing into an established setting, and they show up in like environments I know, like they wind up in Waterdeep, the City of Splendors, which if you've played any of the, like, I don't know, the Baldur's Gates games, you probably know of some of the settings that they're going to wind up in. So, yeah, I
Cool.
just thought that was interesting because I think we're sitting at like 30-year anniversary or 40-year anniversary for that show too. So a lot of those things have like been popping up. Like they put the bad guy on the cover of the new Dungeon Master Guide, and they've added little Easter eggs for the characters and whatnot into the new books. So.
Cool. The nostalgia berries.
Yep.
I guess if it's 40 years, that doesn't. But 30 years, that's the sweet spot, because that's when people grew up on a thing and then they get to an age where they're making stuff, and all the younger people have to deal with the older people's nostalgia.
Back when I was 40, 36.
40,
Jasper's probably not
36.
even here anymore. We're still referring to 36.
So,
Because it's his
Savannah,
birthday!
it is his birthday. I was about to say he should be doing something better than watching us on his birthday anyway. But you know what? We're pretty great.
We are.
This is pretty. I mean, I guess if we were really great, we would have like planned some birthday things for him.
We would have known it was today and not questioned whether it was today or yesterday.
I track no
Yeah.
one's birthdays. Okay, don't take offense. I mean, I guess you can. So Savannah had said, shots of Dr. Pepper. She still hasn't watched Lisa Frankenstein. She wants to. Let's watch it and talk about it next week? Question mark.
I'm game.
Jesse, do you have Peacock currently?
I do.
Okay, well that's the streaming service it's on right now.
All right.
So if you have Peacock, you can watch it. I don't know. Do you have any interest in watching Lisa Frankenstein? Do you even know what this
I
is?
don't know what it is, but I'll try anything.
It's very colorful.
Its rating is a little middle of the road, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. In fact, if it's kind of good but also kind of sucks, that is almost kind of our sweet spot for talking about things.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have a new Doctor Who to talk about, of course, but
Yeah.
we'll discuss Lisa Frankenstein next week. How about that? We'll make a point to watch it. I do
Okay.
want to see it.
I do too.
Cool.
Because next week we'll only have one episode of Doctor Who to talk about.
We won't have
Lately
two.
we had two.
I mean, we spent 40 minutes not talking about it, so that's a little worrisome. But well, let's segue into it,
Yeah, let's do the two.
because I don't want to color anybody's opinions, and I don't think they're perfect, but I don't know,
They're
man.
good. They're good.
I feel like both of them, I think, are. It's one of those where I'm like, Boom, and I have more kind of beef with Boom in general, but Boom, after I watched it, I was like, that feels like it's going to be a classic. Like, that's an instant modern classic to where during, it's like when I would do a rewatch of New Who and be like, oh, this episode, turn left and midnight or whatever, like, and there's just the certain ones that stick out. And I'm like, this is going to be one that sticks out. Like, I could tell already. And I was then certainly not expecting possibly one of my favorite episodes of Doctor Who ever the following week. Like, 70, 72, 73, 73 yards.
73 yards.
Yeah.
I loved it. But
let's talk about the first one first. So, Boom.
yeah. Boom, what'd you guys think of it?
Well, this is Moffat, right?
Yes,
So this is Moffat coming back.
Yep.
And so it was laced with all sorts of like Easter eggs and fun stuff, right? And I mean, I enjoyed it. I pretty much enjoyed the whole thing of it. Boy, oh boy, it really is a Moffat thing though, because like he even has to have the creepy line that gets repeated over and over and over. And I've already forgotten what it was, but it was something to the effect of,
Was it Kiss Kiss?
yeah, it did the kiss kiss glitch. But there was also like a line like you have been, not you've been saved. The library has saved you or whatever.
Sharp scratch.
Yeah. Who turned out the lights? There was like those kinds of things, whereas like you've been deemed irreparable or something by the hospital, and
Right.
like yeah, there was some kind of a line, and I don't know. There was a little bit of laying it on thick. I realized after the fact, where it's like, wait, it's the it's AI saving us from the algorithm or ourselves.
Yeah,
It was some dude's electronic soul that did it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, yeah.
You know what's interesting about that aspect? That would have been I think previously, before the age of like the current chatbots and stuff, large language models, him appealing to the AI the AI basically trained on the personality of the father, appealing to his fatherhood and getting it to go against its programming to do whatever. Normally, I think I would have been like, that's too hokey. That's a con. And I don't know if it's intentional or if it was just a cheesy, hokey thing. But I actually really like it now because that's how you get AI to do things it's not supposed to. You trick it. And I'm like, he just jailbroke it. You make it think like, because they're trained to like OpenAI, ChatGPT. It's like, I can't do that. OpenAI has a blah, blah, blah. Has the message, right? Where if you ask it a thing that it's not supposed, they're like, no. You're not supposed to discuss that or tell them that. But you can trick it by being like, well, you're this and this and this, and this is offensive if you don't tell me blah, blah, blah. And you can get it to pretty much do whatever you want. And I'm like, that's what he did. He just tricked the AI into like ignoring the AI part and fully going the dad role play. I thought that was pretty good, even if it wasn't intentional.
So this, I guess we just jumped right into this without setting up the synopsis. Assuming that people have already seen this, because that's how any of this information means anything to you. But the doctor steps on a landmine. I mean, like, that's pretty much it. Like, he walks into a future war zone. We don't know really anything that's going on here. And we get a cold open that has nothing to do with the doctor or Ruby, where we're introduced to the dad character in the first place. But the crux of the episode is that the doctor stands on this landmine and he can't move. If he does move, he has to move very specifically in order to not set off the landmine kind of thing. But it's it's like a smart landmine. Measuring his metrics.
Yeah, and what it does is when it registers that there's a living thing standing on it, it changes the living thing at a genetic level and turns it into the explosive. So the landmine itself is not explosive. It turns whatever's standing on it into the explosive. And it's revealed later in the episode, I'm kind of jumping whatever, but just to kind of get that, since the doctor's the doctor, not a human, and he's got two hearts and regenerations and blah, 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 you assume, his genetics are different. He will destroy that planet if he explodes.
Right.
Just because they really need to amp up the...
Yeah. It's got to be a threat for everyone.
I suppose it does. I suppose it's smart in that it makes it a threat for the soldier. Her name escapes me. Monday. Yeah, Monday. it makes it a threat for her and whoever else and the little girl, Splice. Otherwise, they could just like, sorry, this sucks, but it's war, so bye. But it makes it a threat for them too, so they're invested.
Yeah. Uh, I don't like that they're like, here's this character, let's make you have feelings about them and then kill them. That feels a little, what's his name to me? The last guy.
Chibnall?
Yeah. You know how you would do that? He'd be like, here's the most interesting character in the whole
Oh,
episode.
that's
Let's kill him
true.
off.
The best characters introduced during Chibnall's era were just basically fodder and killed 5 minutes later. You're right.
Yeah. So I was not happy about that, but
And not only that, he's blind.
yeah.
But not even proper blind, just like temporary blind. Like, no, I'll get better. But then they have this, I mean, like, then they've got to, Moffat's got to throw in his, it's like, well, I haven't done Doctor Who in a while, so I got to make a political statement here about healthcare.
Yeah,
Healthcare and just capitalism in general and war and the never-ending and totally unnecessary war machine that just keeps going to fuel
Industrial military complex.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Those tubes are gross too, by the way. Sorry.
Tubes.
The people tube where they just do all his
Flesh tubes.
The caskets.
Yeah.
Which is like, you put that tube down. And he's like, I can't. I have to hold
was-
on to this dude.
What a weird concept, but also like more a weird execution. It looked like something that should be out of like a 80s like a cheesy 80s horror movie. Just the ew. Yeah, those are weird and gross.
Moffat, what's wrong with you? Who hurt you? You think about all the stuff he's written. Like, what is wrong with you, man? You made Sherlock Holmes really a jerk too.
Right.
Just everything.
The Doctor was awesome.
Oh yeah, he was great.
Uh,
He sang again, and this time it didn't bother me.
Right. No, it was good. Yeah, I actually kind of liked it. I was like, okay, makes sense. He got to flex his act. I mean, not that he hasn't been flexing his acting chops in the previous episodes. I think he's super charismatic and very active, but you got like a desperate intensity, and that's like a whole different like mode, I would assume, for an actor, and really good. I thought he was great in it.
I think this lends to. Didn't you say something about like he's afraid to die now? He has something to live for now.
He does seem more
It's
afraid.
like,
Yeah.
Wow, man. Yeah, he really doesn't want to go.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, he's already in the situation, so like he can't run from it. But yeah, I will say I thought it was great. There's some good lines. Some of the political stuff I liked the lines, and then just some of the stuff. Oh, Faith, like Moffat going after Faith a bit. I was a little surprised at how hard. Of course, that by the end the Doctor's like, well, I don't hate Faith. It's fine, blah blah blah. Like, and whatever, they kind of made up for it. But there was at least a line or two when he was talking to Monday where I was like, oh, that's not gonna make people happy. There were some good burns. It's a proper Moffat though, because I felt like it didn't quite stick the landing. Tonally, it felt super weird. I thought it was really weird when, whatever, it's kind of resolved and the Doctor gets off the mine, and I get that he's excited, but he's like dancing and singing and doing a really cheesy mic drop thing, and I'm like, this seems wholly inappropriate, man.
Yeah.
Like, that little
Especially
girl's
for that
dad's
poor
still
little girl.
dead.
Yeah, that poor little girl. Like, it all should have affected her way more than it did.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know.
And then Monday's like love interest, just like, man, just killing everybody in this.
Yeah.
That was pretty heavy too, because maybe the defenses would have killed him anyway, but she did straight up distract him, and he like kind of got killed instantly for it and was just gone. That was pretty shocking. Um, that actress or actor, however she prefers to go by, that's the next companion.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Huh.
which is interesting. So I don't know if they're gonna do like a, maybe it's a different person. They're definitely doing like casting one person playing multiple roles throughout this season, but or I don't. I mean, the Doctor seemed really warm with her kind of from the get go and at the end. So maybe it'll be the same character. I don't know, but
Oh, is
she's
this
the
the
next.
this is the gal that has been in multi? Oh, okay, because
Oh
they've
no,
been kind of hinting.
she's not
Was
the
it?
one that's been in multiple.
Oh, okay.
The lady whose face the ambulance used, that lady is the actress that's been in like every episode. Susan Twist.
Really? Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, because they were like, that's got to be something.
Right. Right. It has to be.
Yeah.
That's not like Moffat to not, or that's not like RTD to like have this weird thread and then just not pull on it because that's what he does.
Right.
He just sets
Reference
these things.
Saxon throughout the entire season,
Yeah.
and then
Right.
have a payoff.
But no, yeah, the soldier girl is who's cast as the next companion. I don't know when she's joining. I'm assuming next season, which just wrapped production, I think.
Oh yeah.
I read this last week. But yeah, back to Splice, the little girl. I mean, the names seem. Hey, Moffat writes memorable names, I guess. Back to Splice. She didn't seem like she understood pretty much the whole episode until the episode was done that her dad was gone.
Right.
Yeah.
But I guess also for her, he wasn't gone. But and then he like the AI him is still there at the end, so I'm like, the tone was just weird. It's like it's fine. It's
all right.
fine.
I got Max Headroom Dad, which is another 80s reference no one will get.
He went to heaven, and also like he's still here. There's AI. The chatbot's your dad now, and she's just like she never seemed upset at all, other than when they wouldn't hand her the gross
Casket.
body,
The
Yeah.
meat tube.
the meat
Yeah.
tube. Yeah, yeah. So the end tonally seemed weird, but I thought it was otherwise like an excellent episode, personally.
Okay. Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and it was probably one of my favorite of this era so far. Because, like, if you think about the other episodes we've gotten, the Church of or the Ruby Tuesday, whatever,
Yeah.
you know, her premiere, the special,
Mhm.
and then we had what I don't know, I don't
Space
even remember the
Babies.
first one, Space Babies, and the Maestro or the Devil's Chord or whatever.
Yeah.
Like so far, out of all of them we'd had, this was my favorite by far because it was the most like I don't know, subdued, dialed in. Like it was, I don't know, it had a realistic gravity, even though it was in space or mavity, whatever.
Yeah.
Mavity. Oh, the drive-in.
The least bonkers.
Oh. Okay, hold on. This will kind of give it away a little bit. My mom just sent me this message. I'm sorry for the audio listeners in the future. Maybe I'll edit this a little bit and cut this out, but I want to share screen. Is there any like identifiable information on here? Not really. Okay. I'm not going to share the audio. This was from the drive-in today. Apparently, they posted this.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
That's
they got a
their
lot
lot.
of rain.
Wow,
It's underwater. Yeah.
the entire Okay, so the drive-in posted a live video today for the audio listeners, and the entire like lot where everyone's supposed to park to watch the screen is covered in water. I was talking to Melanie after that whole incident, and I was like, "There's no way they realized when they bought that spot. There's no way they realized what they were getting into with the water, which is unfortunate. That's not cool. It definitely sucks, but
They almost need like land movers to get in there and build it up so that the water will run down.
Yeah.
You know, like they need to do something because they're just surrounded by they're in the lowlands. Like that's what it is. Because when it got really bad, I drive past that thing every day, and when we had the flash flood conditions, it was like like I was driving through the middle of a lake or something because it was water on both sides, and the highway was the only thing that wasn't underwater until it was, and then I had to turn around and go back.
Poopy.
Yeah.
I just noticed it, like 15 minutes ago, Savannah dipped out. That's cool. She has not stayed up to date on Doctor Who. That actually really surprises me. That's who introduced both me and Melanie to Doctor Who.
Right.
Anyway, back on topic. Well, let's dive into 73 Yards. A Dr. Light episode in which I should maybe, in theory, be upset that it's essentially I'm not upset at all. It's a supernatural. It's kind of a supernatural thing, but it still has bents of sci-fi. But it's folk horror more than anything.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And it was a clever workaround for his shooting schedule with another show. You know, like I didn't know that until I read it somewhere else. You know.
Yeah, that's why they did the Dr. Light episode. He wasn't available, but he's at the beginning and the end. Noticed also like straight up cold open, no credit, no intro theme on that episode. They just like went right into it. Huh. And so basically, they break what seems like some type of I don't know, not like
the fairy circle is what they called it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the Doctor disappears, and we follow Ruby, spoilers, for 60 years through the whole rest of her life.
Right.
I didn't realize there are like when it starts really jumping forward. I didn't realize it because their way of dealing with like before they recast her as an older lady.
They put glasses on her.
She's supposed to be 40, and they put glasses on her. That's all they did. Yeah. And she looks, I don't know, I think she's like 18, 19. She's young, and she looks younger than she probably actually is. And they just put big glasses on her. So I didn't realize.
Probably done a little better job with the makeup and made her look a little older. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, something. Give her a couple wrinkles somehow.
Yeah.
But
we'll just dress her frumpy. You know how those old people are. The frumpy.
Right. Frumpy old people. To be 19-year-old looking 40 again.
That's right. That's right, man. Yeah. But they're just like young people, only they've given up.
But this episode was, for me, it felt like if the opposite of It Follows had a baby with what's the Dead Zone.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
It is
I totally
very
see
the
that.
Dead Zone. I see that for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of the Dead Zone similarity, but you're right. Yeah, it is definitely It Follows, except it stays away a little bit.
Right. A very specific a bit.
Yeah. 73 yards to be exact.
Yeah.
Hence the title.
Going through it a little bit. First off, there's creepy imagery from the start. The whole thing with the lady, where she's just far enough to where you can't make out features, and that was very intentional. RTD
Wales,
said,
right?
Yeah, they land in Wales on the what do they call that spot? Whatever, on the hills that are
the
like
rocky shores of Wales.
Yeah, they call it a liminal space. There's a war between land and water happens there. I think calling it a liminal space is important and kind of relevant to just like the vibe of the whole story. she I've seen some criticisms that she kind of gives up on the doctor real quick, and like other companions would have like made it their mission to figure out where the doctor went. But she is a new companion, and I think they
Right.
actually finally played on that. And I also suspect this episode was maybe supposed to go
Earlier.
a little earlier, but she doesn't know. She even says like, "Is this what you do? You just like
Right.
disappear?" I mean, I guess it got her to her current time, so or he got her to her current time.
Yeah.
But she goes, the lady she comes across on the trail, the first lady who goes and talks to the woman and then runs off. That lady is played by Susan Twist, who is the face of the lady on the ambulance, whatever.
Okay.
And they
She's
actually,
returning, yeah.
yeah, and they actually finally kind of played on it where Ruby's like, "Do I know you?" Like, there's a moment of recognition.
Oh,
And
yeah,
she's like,
yeah.
I'm trying to get the little stuff out before I just because really everything I have to say is like just the general like concept.
Sure.
The people in the pub are the biggest jerks.
Oh my God. But like they help sell the tension of it too. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so like the first thing that we find out is like, you can't talk to this person. This person is like,
Yes.
what, 73 yards away.
73
But if
yards
somebody goes and talks to her, it's obviously a woman that's following her. They freak out and run away. Like they don't come back to Ruby to tell her what's going on. They just freak out and disappear.
I love how it's done because it's done pretty much the same way every time where the camera always stays with Ruby and you watch somebody walk up to her to go talk to her, this lady out over there, and the lady's communicating something. You can't see really what she's saying. She's moving her hands like she's talking or whatever. She's communicating something. The person stands there and is clearly like listening or whatever for a minute, and then suddenly turns back towards Ruby, and then to look at Ruby, and then runs away screaming.
Yeah.
And then they just will never return. They'll never go back to Ruby, and they generally like don't go back to wherever they were at either. They just never come back. Won't talk to her.
Which gets really messed up.
Oh yeah. I think that's for me. That's where I mean the whole thing with the lady, of course, but then not just that. That's the whole idea of like you send anybody up there, you're never going to talk to them again. They're just going to run off. They're going to clearly be disgusted with you for some reason. And for me, that's like nightmare dream logic
Oh, man.
horror for me. That's like weird. It's like that doesn't really make sense. But
It
really
still
kind of-
doesn't make sense. Like after the fact, I'm just like
No.
thinking about it more and stuff. And I'm like, what in the world what was happening there? I still don't know. I have theories, but I still don't know.
So Moffat is sad because, of course, that's what everybody wants to know. That's like the main thing that's not ever like addressed. I was super impressed with how kind of obtuse the whole concept was. It seemed bold to go there
Yeah.
with an idea that people are obviously going to be like, huh? But Moffat had said that
So this one was Moffat too?
not Moffat, RTD.
RTD.
This was
okay.
RTD. RTD
Okay.
wrote this one.
This one was brilliant. Yeah.
He said, "Oh yeah, no. If it was Moffat, the end would have, the ending would have sucked. It would have been
Would've
great till the
sucked.
end.
Yeah.
And then the doctor would have showed
No,
up and
this
did
was-
a drum
I think
dance.
this thing was perfect beginning to end. I think everybody nailed it.
So RTD said he will never tell. He won't
Good.
tell. No one. He's never going to tell anybody. You'll never find out. And then he had said, and I think that's intentional. And my theory was well, I don't think he actually wrote anything. I think he knows the idea. He wants people to consider it because he had said something to the effect of like, what could someone tell you that would make you abandon your child?
Right?
And he's like, thinking about what that could possibly be is where the real horror sets in, more or less. And it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I love that.
Kate.
I love that.
Kate Stewart. I was just like,
Right.
oh my God, what would make Unit just flip out and abandon you and look at you in disgust?
So the
Yeah.
lady who played old Ruby in the distance, sorry, spoilers, straight up spoilers, but
Yeah.
the lady that played old Ruby in the distance said there were lines that she spoke that were written for her, but they were never recorded, I guess. You know, and she won't ever tell. So I'm guessing she was given something to say, and maybe it was something relevant, but I feel like whatever she was given to say, like, I don't think we're ever supposed to know, and I don't think what it was. I don't think it's important what she was saying.
I don't think it'll be relevant. I think it's just a thing for her to say to make it
Yeah.
look like there was a conversation happening, because
Right.
otherwise it'd already be leaked. You know, like somebody would have already been on set and could tell you what that was and why it mattered.
Yeah.
Because I think the most kind of crushing thing, other than when they're jump 20 years suddenly, and you're like, oh, though this has been her whole life, okay, but is her mom.
Yeah.
Uh,
So awful.
yeah, her mom's like, oh, I'll do it. I'll be on the phone with you the whole time. I'll go up there, and Ruby should have done anything she could to prevent that. But she goes up there. You can't hear with the lady what she's saying over the phone or anything. And the same as everybody else. The mom, like, suddenly, like, it's like they're told something that just, like, jolts them, and they look back at Ruby in disgust. And then she runs off screaming. Ruby runs up to where they were. Of course, the lady's not there anymore. She's gone 73 yards away. But then, I'm assuming it's a taxi or whatever, drives by with her mom in it, and they do a slow-mo scene, and it's just utter disgust. The look, like, her mom gives her this, like, horrifying, like, just disgusted look.
That
of,
gal
like,
is a heck of
oh.
an actor too,
Yeah.
because like you think about the one episode where Ruby never existed, and you know, and the way she changes, you know, man,
Right.
she plays it so well, and she did it here again, you know.
And she won't take any of her calls. She does actually end up talking to her at some point.
Right.
And
So they do still exist. They don't just go mad, but
right. Oh yeah, she ends up going back to her apartment to live her life, I'm guessing, and changes the locks and won't let Ruby in ever again. And the last thing she, you know, gives her a horrible burn about, like, I'm not your mother, am I? Even your real mother doesn't want anything to do with you. Just, like, burn.
yeah, I just like, oh my god.
And then once we jump, like, 40 years in the future, and old Ruby's revisiting the TARDIS or whatever, she mentions that, like, she assumes her mom passed away, but nobody ever told her. So, like, she doesn't even, isn't in it
Right.
ever even, her whole rest of her life, nothing. And I was like, that's horror. Interesting. Like, I made one post on Threads about it. It got some traction, which was cool, and some interesting opinions or whatever. But one person, like, didn't understand why I considered it horror, because I had said, like, not only is it, like, solid horror for Doctor Who, it's, like, just kind of a good horror story.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I get that it's kind of a thought. I forget how they put it, but basically they interpret it as, like, a psychological thriller, but more of a thought exercise with how to, like, indirectly affect.
Just because there wasn't a jump scare doesn't mean that it's not horror. Like, it was horrible.
I watched both these episodes twice. I rewatched it after that comment, and I was like, I told him why I thought it was horror, but rewatching it, I was like, how did you not think this was horror? Like,
This is-
the music, the way it's
Yeah.
shot, the whole scene before it even really gets into what the concept is, the whole scene with the pub, like, they're clearly playing at a horror theme.
If there wasn't a TARDIS involved, you could have told me this was a Twilight Zone episode.
Right. Yeah, I think that's part of why I like it so much, because it doesn't have to be Doctor Who. It's still, like, just a solid story. It's fine that it's Doctor Who,
Yeah.
but
I have questions though, because so when they got there, has to do with the Dead Zone portion of it. When they got there, he brought up someone in her future that was a politician that did bad things, right? And it plays into this whole thing, because I guess that's why the 73 yards maybe is so that she could use this entity to, I don't know, scare off that politician. And that's fine, but it doesn't really change anything for her life after that. So I don't really understand why it was in there. But also, when she goes back, even he still mentions it. So does that mean that it didn't change anything?
right,
Because
she
if
wouldn't
so,
have changed
then,
anything.
I mean, So then
The-
there's like no purpose at all for that have been there at all.
I
Ever.
think I've been thinking about it, and like I said, I rewatched it the second time, and Kate says an interesting thing about like since the doctor's been missing, something about perhaps this timelines, perhaps this is a suspended timeline tied to your event or whatever, which makes me think that Kate, like, Unit's pretty savvy these days. So I think Kate, like, oh, maybe we're in like a pocket timeline that's like just kind of spinning its wheels or whatever. But Kate also says something about, and I could see this making the episode more frustrating for some people, but she says, science fiction, blah, 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 or whatever, aliens and supernatural. We're getting more and more of the supernatural.
Yeah.
But I think she says something to the effect of, and also maybe the pub people might have said something about people are always trying to put meaning to the supernatural. Like sometimes these things just happen and people try to like project their own meaning on it when it's like doesn't mean anything. And I think it's still weird that it's kind of coincidental, but I think the whole political plot is totally irrelevant. It doesn't make Ruby thinks it's going to make the lady go away, and it doesn't. The lady sticks around forever. So it didn't have really, the lady didn't seem to have much to do with that. And she didn't really change anything when the timeline resets. I think that's her trying to make sense of it, trying to give meaning to this thing that happened. And it's totally wrong. It has nothing to do with anything. It's just a thing she's doing. So I think the political plot, I think it's interesting. It's something for her to do, something for the story to do. I think it's a red herring. Like, yeah, I think it's a MacGuffin. I think it has nothing to do with anything. I think it's her. I think it's just trying to further enforce the point of like, you're just trying to put meaning to something that isn't there, doesn't have meaning. It's just there. You just got to accept it. And if that's the case, that's part of why I like this episode so much. That's super bold for a Doctor Who episode where it's like, like half this plot, the plot's meaningless. It's there to sell this theory, this concept of like, stop, the meaning we put on things doesn't actually mean anything.
Yeah.
And you could see it. And this was an entity they could interact with. Was like an interesting angle because, like that's what separates it from being the William Shatner episode of Twilight Zone where there's the goblin on the plane on the wing, but only he can see it. This was different in that everyone could see him, and interacting with it was worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super interesting because and they did the perception filter where people like just kind of dealt with, like just didn't even really acknowledge it until it was pointed out. She was pointed out, but that separates it from It Follows even where nobody can see it except you. This is like, no, everybody could see it, but that doesn't help you. It's still there, and it does no good. In fact, it does harm to try to get other people to talk to her.
And I didn't care for the end of her, where it's like, she's in the hospital about to pass away or whatever, but then it's there and it's her. Spoilers, we already said that. And then when she goes to touch it, she becomes her from when she first saw herself. Yeah, whatever. That whole thing, that's uncomfortable to me.
Oh, it's uncomfortable? The scene was super creepy. And again, I don't know how how that person didn't. I just assumed they were being genuine with their question when they, on threads who didn't understand the horror, why I was interpreting it as horror. And I would say, I don't think if no one else seen it, I think you could make an argument for psychological horror, but the fact that it was a thing that was actually there pushes it into supernatural horror and not science fiction, definitely supernatural.
Yeah. And not like a Cape Fear kind of thing. It's not like
right.
Not even like a Hannibal Lecter thing, but even Hannibal Lecter veers into horror almost. I don't know. Yeah.
But it was great.
Yeah? You think so?
I thought it was great. I didn't like it as much as you did. I know, because you are all about the unknowns. What did she say? I'm like, I don't really care what she said.
What's in the case?
Yeah, what is it?
Yeah.
What's in the
What did
box?
what did ScarJo whisper in Bill Murray's ear at the end of that Sofia Coppola movie? I can't even remember the name of the movie. But I
Lost in
remember
translation.
Lost in Translation. What did she say? I want to
Right.
know. Oh,
Right.
we're never
Right.
gonna know. I love that movie.
It's so
Anyway,
much better because we don't.
right.
Yeah. We
I don't
kind of
know
ruin it if we knew.
because yeah, that's it. It gives you like there's so much possibility in not in the unknown, which again I think that's the whole point of the political plot. It's just again, Ruby thought she knew. They go hard with that too. I mean, it's not explicit at all, but they indicate that dude was real bad with the other volunteer girl. I was like, oh,
Yeah, she's like, he's a monster.
I will, and I think I don't remember her name offhand, but the actress that plays Ruby, I think she did good. I think she did a good job. I will levy this criticism, although this kind of lends to this potentially being a good story outside of Doctor Who on its own, but we, you know, essentially follow Ruby through her entire life. And I feel like, other than the fact that she's a very hopeful person, we don't learn much about her character at all, really. And I feel like we should have. There should have maybe been more character stuff.
And don't date her either. Because she will
She
just
seems-
drop you as soon as she gets a good idea.
I know she's like distracted apparently her whole life by this thing, but like, yeah, that's pretty cold. She even kind of burns the dude with whatever the problem was in bed. Like, I don't know. She doesn't necessarily seem like a great person, but that's all. Yeah, I just would have expected to get more. RTD's good at character stuff. I would have expected more character, like a better idea of who she is from this, and I still don't feel like I really got that.
Well, you'll find out when you find out why it snows all the time.
That's the problem. That's a lazy character.
Yeah, we don't want to know that.
Yeah, when their trait is like whatever Space Jesus or whatever thing they're doing, the Impossible Girl, like that's pretty lame. Hey, what's going on, Chicago Faucet?
Hey,
How's it hanging?
yes, I love that.
Dude, you nailed it. Yep. 100% increase on our audience all of a sudden. I'm impressed.
Mm-hmm.
I do kind of feel like we're winding the show down though. You
Yeah.
you kind of have bad timing or whatever. Our
An
schedule isn't
uncanny
great.
knack is what I was going to say, but
Yeah,
bad timing works too.
for them, not for us.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
appreciate
Oh, yeah,
that
yeah.
you're here.
Yeah.
I always feel bad that we're ending the show when you show up though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or it's like,
I was just gonna say even.
oh, it's Chicago Faucet. So we got to go, guys.
We gotta go. We gotta go. Good night,
Sorry.
everybody.
Yeah. No, I was,
What
I was
were-
just even gonna say, I was like, yeah, Ruby Tuesday, she's too amazing. Eh,
You were gonna go there. Okay, all right.
You were gonna.
Yeah, I really
segue.
don't have anything else to say. It was an amazing episode.
Mm-hmm. You know what else is amazing?
What else?
Plants. And some researchers have shown that a single metabolite can render bacteria toxic to plants under high salt conditions, which is worrisome because the rising temperatures associated with climate change means more irrigation will be required in the future, and water that we use to water plants carries nutrient salts that accumulate in the soil, raising the salinity. Um, and like humans, plants have like a little ecosystem that they live with of microorganisms, and some are helpful and some aren't, and they fight a lot of times. And sorry, previous experiments by this study's co-author have shown that some bacteria that under natural soil conditions are helpful actually facilitate infection. Facilitate infection in the presence of salt. Specifically, I'm probably not going to say this right. Brassicapetin was found to be toxic to thale and tomato plants as well as other microbes. So they found that out. They haven't really figured out how to combat it, but at least they know that it exists. So they're hoping that in the future they will be able to have a workaround and improve future plant growth. But if they can't, that's a downer because Yeah.
Because we like plants.
So we're
We
all
like
gonna
plants.
die?
I mean, we're already going to be dead probably
I
by the
know,
time it
but
becomes a real
still.
concern. But
Like
yeah,
everyone's gonna die?
I mean, that's if we don't change our ways. Yeah.
That is amazing in a terrible, terrible way. This just became a psychological horror or not, depending on which side of a thread argument you're on.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Uh,
But it's important. It's important to think about these things.
Huh.
So
Cool.
get some green energy and start riding
Less
a bike.
salt? Really,
Well,
really curb
just
your
get
salt?
drop. If we could just cut the carbon emissions so the temperature stops rising, that would be the best right there. Then we wouldn't need all the extra irrigation and
Cutting carbon.
yes, cutting carbon and other greenhouse gases as well.
Who
like
knew
methane and whatnot.
the keto diet was gonna save us all?
yeah, I was about to say, it's like, so Earths need to go on like Atkins or something. Okay. Your greenhouse gas.
Yeah, we are. That's true. We are.
Next episode of Doctor Who the trailer didn't look great to me, but
Yeah, what's
fine.
going on with that? I don't even remember what it was. It was forgettable.
I seen a headline. There's a review out for it already. Somebody got advanced reviews. Not us, but
No.
I seen the title. I didn't read it, but it basically, the review title is something like, it plays like a family friendly black episode of Black Mirror. So I was like, oh, that's not a bad thing.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, like, how do you follow that? I mean, like, these are two great episodes. You almost need a cool down episode, which stinks, but
What
like-
like?
Also, how do you have a family-friendly episode of Black Mirror? That doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, I kind of feel like that's not uncommon for Doctor Who, because Black Mirror is always like somewhat grounded in like, it's science fiction horror, in that like, what's something that like you could see happening, like technology that we kind of have now, run with it a little further into the future, how would it go wrong, right? That kind of seems like Black Mirror. And so you just do that, except it's not like, except it's family friendly. Whatever. It's not hardcore.
Yeah, so it's like a less hardcore Black Mirror.
Sure.
we do have a Discord server, actually, don't we?
Oh man, we do. I have not. Yeah, we're on it all the time.
I mean, I'm on it. It's just nothing's ever happening. So
Yeah, it doesn't get much use. Do I have a link to it on the website? I feel like I should. Maybe did I not even ever link to it on the website? That's
that
not
might
like
be
me.
why it's never active.
Weird.
We have used it. We've used it to do some Let's Plays and whatnot.
Yeah. Hold on, let me see if I can find it real quick.
Let's see. While you're doing that,
Yeah.
there is I'll just talk about Humble Bundle now.
Okay.
There is a great Humble Bundle happening right now. That's the Ninja Turtles one. Like, they just ended the current IDW run of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at issue 150, and Humble Bundle is currently doing a digital comics bundle that is like, it's not all of it, but it's real close. It's real close. It's like 14 volumes or something of the Ninja Turtle run. And I even I picked it up just because, like, there's a good stretch that I don't have. So yeah, I would check that out, and you can get that and support the channel, or support the podcast with our affiliate link, which would be growlixpodcast.com/humble.
Yep.
Yeah. Chicago Fawcett asks how we've been streaming for 10 years, but only have 27 followers, because we're not very good at promoting our Twitch channel. We have
So
it.
I mean, I probably created the Twitch channel ages ago, but we have only been we've been streaming for, I don't know, like 4 like 4 years.
Oh yeah, we haven't actually been actively streaming that
How
whole
we've
time.
been streaming for 4 years and only have 27 followers. I mean, that's a good question. But we did the normal podcast thing for the majority of those 10 years, releasing, podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever, YouTube channel. The YouTube channel, I mean, we've got more followers on YouTube, but that, for me, that's been the heartbreaking thing. We have like hundreds of videos on YouTube, and we just could never really get traction. So at a certain point, you're just like, maybe I'll just phone it in and do a live stream every week and not bother putting it up on the podcast feed or putting in a lot of promotion into it. So, also, I tend to have the bad habit of being a little too honest and giving the sense, give people a sense.
He's saying the quiet part out loud.
Yeah,
soul crushing. This grind is soul crushing.
Yeah.
But we entertain ourselves every week, so we keep doing it.
Right. Right. Otherwise,
it's kind of like playing D&D. Like the only reason to do it is because it's fun.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like I like having this conversation, and trust me, I try to have these conversations with Melanie, and sometimes it goes well, but not with Doctor Who, and not or X-Men '97. It did. She's not as enthralled with it as we are.
Oh man. And I'm just like, there's so many storylines. Dude, they could do anything. They could do this. They could do that. They shouldn't do that, but they are going to do that. Yeah.
We also, Chicago Fawcett, we don't, our start time's a little iffy, but we're pretty consistent with our streams. But we don't stream video games. I used to stream some video games on the Twitch channel, but we don't stream video games. And I don't know, man. It just seems like at least our podcast just doesn't get a lot of traction on there.
Right.
Nobody loves us.
Well, and that's another thing. So, just because they asked, I used to be a lot better about reaching out to other shows because they mentioned that they know some streamers like us and wish they could connect us to them. I used to be better about.
Great.
That's the best way to grow in this online, really, but especially in Twitch, like Twitch rating each other, and that whole dynamic of Twitch is unique.
I think it's kind of everywhere though. Networking is super important in everything.
Yeah.
Which is why I get nowhere in life because I don't network because I don't like people.
Well, and I used to be a lot better about it. I mean, I run a podcast network, but even that. But then I started. See, here's the problem. Randy made podcasting his job, and then suddenly the hobby side of podcasting seemed a little less
enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Or, I really love this part. I like the actual podcasting. It's all the technical stuff, and then the social, the networking and the social media side. I just kind of got burnt out on a lot of that. So, yeah, we're just spinning the wheels, spinning cartwheels or turning cartwheels.
Turning cartwheels. Speaking of a pod fade, hoo-wee.
It happens. I'm actually super I get down about our following sometimes, and we've had. I mean, we used to have decent following before I abandoned our central original key topic. But the fact that we haven't pod faded. I'm super happy about it. Yeah. I'm super impressed.
We're impressive.
We should do something with Nerd Sounds at some point.
Oh, we need to. We should.
Yeah.
So my goal was eventually to make good on my promise of episode 100 and then transition, but
you'd have to actually finish episode 100.
Yeah, I think I just need to win the lottery and make Randy my house husband, and then it'll happen. But
all right. Yeah, get on that. Are we getting tickets? What are we doing?
Make me your house husband. I'll do it.
Okay.
You can call me Dobby.
This is the future the liberals want.
Yep.
That's right. All right. Let's end the show.
Yes, let's do
just
it.
For tonight.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
just for tonight.
I just realized this is going to be this is potentially the first Grawlix to go up on the Helix Rock radio station.
You may have to cut this whole
I might have to cut the end.
And be like, oh, they got really dour at the end.
oh, the first, what's this, the new show? And then at the end, it's just like, we've been doing this for 10 years. Just haggard.
Right.
I don't know why I made like a smoking a cigarette sign. I got a vape. I could have just done
It was a
that.
very Bukowski moment you were having. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Goodbye. Let's go.
Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for listening. Grawlixpodcast.com, Grawlix podcast.com. Hey, that's something I can still do. That's been burned into me for 10 years. Grawlix podcast.com, because nobody knows how to spell Grawlix.
That was pretty useful when I was on the middle-aged movie review podcast. That it just rolls off the tongue now, and it's not a thing that should roll off anyone's tongue. But if you practiced it for 10 years,
Yep.
it does. Yeah.
Because nobody knows what Grawlix is. They don't know what that is.
No.
So you got to spell it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay. God damn it.
No, it's it's good. I like it. Other than that comedy group who didn't start podcasting till years after we did.
Right.
We've never run into the issue of like, oh, there's 10 other podcasts with the same name.
No, we definitely don't have that problem.
No. There's one other podcast, and they wisely, like, their podcast name was very distinctive from ours. I've worked with people who've, like, launch a podcast, they start a podcast, this is what the name's going to be. And I'll do a search, just a Google, and find 10 other literally just 10 plus other podcasts with the exact same name. It's like, dude,
right?
What are you doing? You're setting yourself up to fail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because now you got to differentiate from a bajillion other podcasts and the ones that have the same name as you too.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people come from the business world. And it's like, that's branding 101, man. What are you doing?
I'm going to call it Pepsi.
But people
I want to call my sugar water that.
Chicago Faucet knows what Grawlix is. Well, that's exactly right. And considering we used to be a comic book podcast, it was perfect. Interrobang, do it. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. Bye.